Start with the game yesterday. Where do you think that things changed from the control you guys had to where it went?
Well, you know what? They're a good young hockey team that has a really good transition game. I like the way we played for the majority of the game. We let our guard down a couple different times with some key mistakes. Uh, they capitalized on it. Obviously, with the amount of zone time we had, the posts we hit, that could go any way early on. It didn't, and you're in a game, and we got to find a way to win those.
How the process philosophically on the tying goal? I mean, it's 6-on-5 can be a little bit mayhem, and all of a sudden Truba comes down. You had two D men in the area. Is it just a communication issue, or
On
what did
the
you see on the tying goal?
the tying goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we ended up getting caught on the one side, and then obviously with the forward flexing out, we weren't able to get into the lane. And it was a case, I think, a little bit of an extended shift where guys need to be able to stay fresh in those situations.
Just the defense battle. I mean, you got a couple guys out. What are you seeing? I mean, now Dylan Coghlan has kind of entered the mix. What have you seen from him specifically, and then we'll kind of move down the list.
Well, I thought he's played pretty well. I mean, the guy sat out 34, 35 games, played 1 of 35. So, you throw him into that. He's worked hard in practice, doing the extra stuff so that he is ready when he goes in. And again, we're in a numbers game where we're trying to find pairs. We got guys playing maybe higher in the lineup than they would pertaining to minutes. And we're trying to find that mix. And unfortunately, at times, guys are coming in and out.
Sure. And how's Logan handling those extra minutes?
I think he's been pretty good. I think it's been a little bit of adjustment as the game wears on, just from the amount of games that he's missed from a conditioning standpoint. But he's a big body. He needs to continue to use his size, his reach in situations that can help us defend better.
And how about with Ville? Sorry, I mean, he's obviously coming back from a really tough injury. Missed a lot of development time. How's he handled things?
Very similar. I mean, when you're injured as a young guy, you lose that development time. And you got to find a way to get it back. We have to do a good job in trying to prepare him and get him ready for those situations. So he's been in and out at different times. There's been stretches that have been good and other stretches where I'm sure he'd like to be better. But that's part of the learning process, especially when you miss that amount of time.
I guess it would be a little bit of a two-sided coin, but what does it do for a coach when you have the competition level that's been created with all those defensemen, but the other side, the difficulties that are involved with trying to find ice time for everybody?
Yeah, I mean that's why we're coaching. I mean that's the one thing that is a challenge, and the shitty. Oh, can't say that, right? You can edit that. The worst part of that is when you're telling guys they're not in, or you're having to pull a guy out to get another guy in on a rotation, and it's never ideal. But again, it's the NHL, and we're trying to find that mix. And again, the minutes balance is a challenge at times, especially with the way the games. If they're close games, whether we're trailing and pushing, obviously the top four are going a little bit more in those minutes, and then or if we're chasing the game or protecting a lead, those minutes seem to change by the third period of what you go into the game thinking that you're going to play them.
The vast majority of these guys seem to have done a pretty good job coming off the bench and showing, close to their best. Is that a credit to each of them as a player, or does the coaching staff deserve some kind of credit here?
We don't. We only take credit when we lose.
Smart.
No, that's a credit to the players. I mean, they got to do the work. We put them in a place on the ice, practice the extra stuff after to try to prepare them for when that opportunity arises. But no, our guys have done a good job in difficult circumstances, whether it's been injuries to them or another player where they've been able to step in and play.
I know he hasn't been in for a while. Dylan Samberg, though, what have you seen from him? What's the importance of him to this team?
Well, his importance is huge. I mean, obviously he's a big body guy. He's, played very well from the start of the year until the injury, and now he's in a process of getting stronger every day, getting his conditioning back, his footwork, his hands, all that stuff. So, he'll be, I don't even know how long at this point, but he looks like he's making some real good progress.
Seems to be the kind of guy, I know he's a big body, and a lot of times people focus on that, but seems to kill a lot of plays with that reach with his stick, but more so the idea it almost seems like he's a step ahead of everyone else on the ice. What do you see from him as far as IQ and kind of sussing out what the opponent is doing?
I like his hockey IQ. I mean, his anticipation as a defenseman, that's a real important thing, and obviously you combine the reach and length that he has, that allows him to close quicker. It allows him to eliminate plays, and then obviously at the net front, as a big body, it helps clearing the net for our goalies.
One of the things that I've sort of noticed in minutes for most teams for top four defensemen versus sort of the bottom pair is if you just pick like some arbitrary great center like a McKinnon or a whomever and look at who plays how many minutes against that
Right.
type of player, you guys do a really good job of protecting the third pair where possible. How much actual work goes into that, or is that just because they're playing less minutes? You know, how much gamesmanship goes into making sure that they can get maybe a more manageable workload?
Well, we have matchups that we look at before the game who we want ideally out against the opposition forwards. And, you know, it's at home, it's a lot easier because you have last change. On the road, it gets a little bit trickier depending on the other coach and how he runs his lines. Some teams roll 4 lines for a stretch, then they shorten it to 3. Some go 3, spot 1, go 3, spot 1. So you kind of got to be on your toes with it. There's been stretches, unfortunately, for like even last night with Ville and Millsy that they were all set to go out and we went on the power play. So then they're not coming off. Going on for that, and then coming out of their penalty kill, they're going with their top line, so now they're sitting again. So there are stretches in games where they may sit longer than you'd like. We communicate with them on the bench, let them know, you know, hang in there, whatever, be ready when called upon. But that's kind of how the process works with it.
Communication-wise, you mentioned for a couple of these guys, they've been hurt. They've missed time. Ville missed time this year and last year, all that sort of stuff. Just in terms of how we evaluate these guys getting up to speed, how much patience should we really be approaching the sort of rotation that you're using with?
Wow, that's a good question. I would say that every team goes through injuries like this. So depending on the depth of your minor league team, we're in a situation where we have veteran NHL players that are the depth guys. So that made that transition probably easier. To bring those guys in and out that have NHL experience than bringing up a young guy from the Moose that hasn't played yet or is just starting out with it. But patience, that's your call. I got lots of patience.
Communication-wise, when they came up or got healthy, all this sort of stuff, do you tell a guy like Ville, you know, weeks in advance, you're going to be in, you're going to be out, you're going to, like, there's going to be a whole process here, or do you do it day by day?
No, we live this business day by day.